Today, I would like to talk to you about an issue that's very dear to my heart, and that is immigration. My mother was born and raised in Mexico, and she came here when she was in her 20s to study, to work at a hospital in Chicago as a biochemist. When she came here, she didn't know the language, and she didn't know anyone. My father was a Jew that came from Russia, and my father's mother was a Jew that came from Poland. And my grandfather was one of the only people from his family that came to this country, and I believe that he was one of 9 brothers, and the rest of his family was killed during the Holocaust. So if it weren't for immigration, I wouldn't be here today to talk to you. Maybe during the Connections Hour, we can share other immigration stories of your families. I would like to hear them. So as Unitarian Universalists, we have many principles which are relevant to the issue of immigration. Principle number 1 is the inherent worth and dignity of every person, no matter their country of origin or their citizenship status. The second principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations reminds us to treat all people, regardless of who they are or where they came from, as human beings. Lastly, the 7th principle tells us that we are all part of an interconnected web, and part of our spiritual work is to make that web tangible through acts of love, care, and justice. Immigration is a global issue that will not go away. I'm going to outline some scenarios that people have endured. I'm hoping that by hearing these stories, we might better understand why someone makes the difficult choice to leave their friends, family, and culture to start a new life in a new land. I want to warn you that some of these stories can be intense. Imagine that you live in the town of San Ignacio. It's a beautiful village in the mountains above Acapulco, Mexico. It's a gorgeous day. The sun's shining, the birds are singing, you can smell the tropical flowers in the air. It's market day, and you've woken your 2 daughters at 7 a.m. Paula, who's 13, she's not feeling well, so she asks if she can stay home instead of going to market. You decide to just take Sophia with you, who's 8 years old, because you want Paula to rest. The 2 of you head off to market on foot with a bag filled with some corn that you will try to sell at the market. Since all the men of the village have gone north to seek work, you see other neighbors going to the market too, to sell their meager wares. Life is difficult in the village, but you manage to have enough to eat, so you're doing okay. When you get back, you sense that something's strange. It's too quiet in the village. When you get home, Paula's not there. You run to the neighbor's house, and the elderly woman tells you that narco-traficantes came to town and they took all the young girls of the village back to their hideout. The narcos frequently come to the village to take the girls to be their sex slaves. In the past, you've been able to hide your daughters. Typically, when the girls are snatched, they're never seen from again. What do? Do you go north with Sophia to find your husband and save Sophia from the same fate? Do you send Sophia alone and wait to see if Paula is returned? Imagine you live in the small village of Rumsiki, Cameroon. At this time of year, the fields are very green. The cattle have much to graze on. It's a beautiful day. It's just yourself and your 2 children, your 2 boys, caring for your small herd of cattle. Loon is 12 and Eslan is 9. Your husband died of complications from AIDS last year. Life is difficult, but you're managing to survive and you have enough to eat. Suddenly, you see all the birds of the village flying off and the dogs barking. You hear gunfire and the sound of many jeeps. You quickly run to hide, but only manage to hide with Eslan. Unfortunately, Loon is snatched by the soldiers. You can hear him screaming, "Mama! Mama!" You've heard of this happening in other villages, but they've never come here because it is quite remote. Typically, once a boy becomes a child soldier, you never hear from them again. What do? Do you run away with Eslan to try to save him from the same fate as his brother? Imagine you live in Jos, Nigeria. You're a 13-year-old girl. You love school and work really hard at your studies. You want to become a teacher. Your mother supports you in your dream. She sells food at the market to pay for your school fees. Your father, so far, has gone along with your mother's wishes. One day, you come home from school and your mother isn't home. She's been rushed to the hospital and is quite sick with cancer. You have noticed that she hasn't had the same energy as usual. You and your father rush to her bedside, and your mother's last dying wish is that you continue your studies. You are now in charge of cooking and cleaning and taking care of your two younger brothers. You also try really hard to continue your studies at school. Soon your father doesn't have the money for the school fees, so you have to stop going to school. One day you come home and you hear laughter in the house. Your father has a visitor. One of the older men from the mosque is sitting and chatting with your father. When he leaves, your father tells you that you will be married to Musa, a 50-year-old widower. Your family will have the money they need to survive, and you will help Musa raise his 3 children. You have no wish to marry, and you really want to become a teacher. What do? Do you run away to find work and a different life? Imagine you have grown up in Kijang-dong, North Korea. You are the eldest son of a family and you have been fortunate to get a scholarship to attend high school in Pyongyang. Your family is counting on you to bring some economic stability to the family. You rarely visit your hometown. You've just come home for a visit and you notice that all the villagers and your family look very thin. It seems that the crops have failed and there isn't enough food for everyone. The police raid your apartment complex one night looking for any food that has been hidden. They take some meager bags of cornmeal that your mother has put under the floorboards. It seems that this is a regular occurrence. You are horrified and you go to the local police station to inform on the police officers. When you get there, you see that they are all sitting around in the office laughing, and they all look very well fed. You notice that the storage shed is open and you see lots of bags of cornmeal. You sneak in to steal a little bag. You are very quiet. Suddenly, the police dogs start barking and you have to run. You grab the bags and you run for your life. You know that if you get caught, you and your family will be sent to the labor camps, never to be heard from again. You are able to escape to the river and swim downstream for a while. You see China is on the other side of the steep hill across the river. Do you stay or do you go? These are all real stories of choices that many people have had to make. There are many reasons why someone chooses to migrate to another country. Oftentimes, there's ethnic cleansing in their home countries. For example, the Rohingya people in Myanmar, the Uyghurs in China, the Tigrayans in Ethiopia. There can be wars in the home country that's happening in Syria, Ethiopia, Ukraine, and Gaza. Often there is gang violence, as in many places like Mexico, Haiti, Brazil, and now Jamaica too. Often climate change has caused flooding, droughts, fires, and excessive heat, making the land unable to sustain life. Once someone makes the difficult choice to leave their family, friends, and customs to migrate, they can go through a horrific time getting to the new country. There's oftentimes violence, kidnappings, excessive heat, drownings, and unbearable conditions on their journey. They many times have to pay exorbitant fees to the guides that claim to help them navigate to the new country. When they do arrive at their destination, they can be treated like criminals. They can be locked up in detention centers, end up living in tents with no running water and no amenities. Their children have no way to be educated. If they are the lucky ones that get to stay in the new country, they have to learn a new language. They often do menial labor, even if they were educated and had good jobs in their home country. Since their children are going to school and learning the new language, they often lose the culture and language of the parents. I used to do translation for the school district, and I was surprised that many times I was translated not only between the family and the school district, but the teachers, the parents, and the kids, because they couldn't communicate any longer. The kids and their parents don't communicate, it's just a basic communication. For the children, it is hard to be part of two cultures. You often don't feel as if you belong in either culture. It's time to have a serious discussion about immigration. As the world continues to change, there are going to be more and more displaced people. We have to find a solution and a humanitarian way to help people who are forced to migrate. It's impossible for the United States to accept everyone who wants to come, but we need to figure out a way to make things easier for those we can admit. We have to figure out a way to help people remain in their home country by addressing root causes. These are issues that are only going to get worse. If you're interested in learning more and getting involved in immigration justice, please see the resources listed at the back of your order of service. I would like to finish with a quote from Brian Stevenson. I think sometimes when you're trying to do justice work, when you're trying to make a difference, when you're trying to change the world, the thing you need to do is to get close enough to people who are falling down, get close enough to people who are suffering, close enough to people who are in pain, who've been discarded and disfavored, to get close enough to wrap your arms around them and affirm their humanity and their dignity. Thank you.